Hello everyone, and today I'm very excited to introduce you to Mocs of mine that while in the TIE Fighter class, do not have any in-universe name, so for the majority of this video, I will just be calling them either TIE Interceptors or TIE Barons, just because. The first one you can see on the left, the red one, I've had for much longer than the one on the right. It was when I first got Lego's TIE Baron Lego set, based off of the ship you see inside the Star Wars Resistance show, and I heavily modified the wings and the top and back side of the actual engine area. It's worth noting that on both these sets, while they do have spring loaders under the cockpits, they do not work because I decided to sacrifice the functionality for the looks of the bottom and back ends of both of these fighters. They both use the very similar and builds to the connections for the wings and the cockpits themselves. However, I have heavily modified them to my own liking. We'll start with the red one because it is the older one, and I think it's a good introduction to my newer model, which is definitely based a lot on the older one that I made. So when I first got the TIE Baron, I did enjoy it. As a Lego set, I think it is a pretty good looking TIE fighter. Or in, TIE class, you know what I mean. However, I always enjoyed these longer type of wings, specifically ever since I saw, TIE Interceptor in the movies, or the TIE Silencer, which is Kylo Ren's ship in The Last Jedi. And so I've always enjoyed the length of the wings like this, and so I went out of my way to use extra pieces for my collection to give it a much more striking look. Also, the back end of it did not look the greatest, as it did, spend a lot to try to fit in the functionality of the spring-loaded shooters. So I overhauled it and gave it more of a more of a TIE advanced back end to it. It's also looking a tidbit like the TIE Silencer back end, but we'll see a lot more looks of the TIE Silencer on the second model. The top, unlike the TIE Baron and most of the TIE fighters, shares this cockpit piece, which can be found on the TIE Silencer and the First Order TIE Fighter models. And it is because at the time, I found it much more convenient and nicer look. I do think it does fit pretty well, especially with it being my own model. I shouldn't, rely too much on the original model if I really do want to make it my own. I gave it a nice, sleek, smooth looking overtop. I do think the wings turn out really well. However, sometimes, and only sometimes, it bothers me how the black and the red do not have a perfect, line with each other. You can see sometimes it bumps up here and comes down a little too sharp. But other than that, I think for being, it's gotta been like 2 years since I made this. For being like a 2-year-old model, I think it turned out pretty well. Nothing really too much to show except for, top side looking like this, wings looking like that. I think it looks good. There's a piece missing here. I wonder where that is. But recently, I wanted to make another TIE fighter of sort, right? And I love class TIE fighters that are based on the Interceptor, TIE Advanced, TIE Silencer, TIE Whisperer, the list can go on. I'm using these stands to help keep them steady. So I did. I made another. But this one I wanted to do in the classic gray and black look compared to the striking red we saw on the previous model. Something to note for the end of the wings here, I do have like these jut out areas. I think it adds to the wings. On the other model, I guess I just did it while trying to come up with a better wing look. On this one, I replicated the old look, but I did do, I think, a better job with the wings here, although I feel like this part is maybe missing a little something, so I might add something here in the future. But you can see definitely an improvement with how the light gray, in this case, and the black lines up going all the way down the wings and there. I will say the dark gray and light gray choice for this middle part here is a little out of place for the wings here, and I might change either this to black or have some more light gray coming up here. I don't want to mess it up too much, so I'm going to probably sit on that for a while. It's worth noting that both of these ships are definitely not in canon, and so I did have a lot of free will when making a ship like this. I'm leaning towards many different types of names for these ships, but I think I'm going to stick with mostly something like the TIE abetter, because abetter would be, helping someone else do wrong, and these would be like helping, in some way, like be aids to maybe a much stronger type of TIE fighter, like the TIE Advanced, because these, with wings being so long, you can imagine them being built for, like, I guess, speed, agility, somewhere around that line. Maybe not agility. If you move on to the back of this, you can see something very, very reminiscent of the TIE Silencer, because I do love that ship, and I'm a really big fan of the model of the TIE Silencer that LEGO came out with years ago. I can't remember when. So we got that long streak of red right there. That really gives off, to me, a very intimidating look for an engine. I kind of think of it, it is a little bit like the Millennium Falcon. I do wonder if the original makers of the TIE Silencer had that in mind, since Kylo Ren had once, assuming his father literally flies the Millennium Falcon. If we move on to the top here, this top part I did spend a lot of time trying to make look good, especially since it's supposed to mirror what we see going on the bottom a little bit, but for the top. And I feel like the top of things does matter a little bit more, because it's what people see the most. And so I did use the same cockpit hinge that the original TIE Baron used, because, well, for many reasons, one of them being I did not have another piece like the other top piece for this build. At least that wasn't mine. My brother had one, but I didn't want to use it. But the cockpit opens up seamlessly, just the same, and it closes seamlessly, just the same. And the front here, I didn't have the same pieces I did for the other ship to finish this off, so I decided to use a cheese slope piece to give it a good look, and I think it turned out really well. I think the whole thing turned out a lot better than I was planning. It's also very difficult to capture in camera because of how long the wings are. But I think overall I am very happy with this, and I do love looking over to my shelf and seeing these both displayed right next to each other. I might try to make it much nicer stands for them, so then they can be displayed at much better angles than just like this, Overall, I am very happy with how these turned out. If you'd like to subscribe or comment below, please do. I'd appreciate the support. Please leave your ideas below on what else I should make. I want to make progression videos on Mocs I make in the future, and other overviews of Mocs that are sitting on my shelf. Anyways, thanks for watching, and have a good one.